type it in the chat, please.
Hello.
Hello. Hi, Adrian.
Can you hear me?
Yep. Very well.
Okay. Great. So
okay, I'm very happy with this tier list tool because it's very useful to classify.
Yeah, it's got to be one of the most.
Okay. Yeah, 1 second. Okay, I think that we have a lot of people today with us. Some of them Spanish. I hope they understand us very well with my Spanish accent. I'm silencing the notifications. This is an important week because of Wimbledon. I have a lot of huge bets. Okay, well, today we are talking about bookmakers and which of them have been important according to our experience. I think that experience will be very variable between different users because of the restrictions, because of the variance itself when betting. So I think I'm sharing with you my experience that is very different to other users, probably because, I have been using WinnerOdds for a long time, and most of the bookmakers I have used were or I registered on them many years ago. But I will explain which is my experience with some of them. And we have also Adrià, that is a very heavy user and has also tested many of the bookmakers. And I think that we can have a very interesting streaming.
You can hear me fine now because I think I was muted before.
No, we can hear you. Yeah.
Okay, great. If my mic gets muted, let me know because sometimes it does without me realizing.
Okay. So you want to add anything to the introduction? Or?
Well, I would like to say that this is one of the most requested topics as far as I'm aware, because I keep seeing questions such as, which sites can I use from my country? What do I do after Bet365 bans me? So we'll try to answer that. It's going to be difficult because the previous live stream was focused on Spain only. So they had it fairly easy because they can just talk about very specific things about Spain. But this live stream is targeted at every other region combined, basically. So it's going to be difficult to tackle it with the same level of detail, but we'll do our best. If someone wants to add their 2 cents, their experience in the chat, let us know, because some of these we definitely don't have firsthand experience with. I don't imagine you've tested all of these, right? Have you tested all of these sites yourself?
No, of course. Yeah. Many of them I cannot register from Spain, and other just are too shitty for me. I haven't opened an account on them, but I will talk a little bit about all of them, and I will explain which is the specific situation of the bookmakers I have used.
From what I can see, there are many country-specific sites that WinnerOdds users use in those countries, like Australia, the UK. There are a few international sites, meaning that anyone can register from almost every place in the world. And at the end, there are some crypto sites that are not monitored by WinnerOdds, but we thought it was a good idea to talk about them because they can be used from almost any country, and there are many pitfalls that you want to avoid falling in. So we'll get to that at the end. Again, as a little disclaimer, like I'm the user that the newsletter email says that I used over 200 betting sites, which is correct, but they are a combination of Spanish sites, international sites, crypto sites, and a few country-specific sites. But obviously, I'm not going to be able to tell the top 3 sites in Slovenia. So for some of these, we'll request chat assistance. And that's about it.
Okay, so if you don't mind, I can start preparing my tier list with my experience. and I will explain briefly for each bookmaker which are the parameters I find interesting. Of course, there is a question of how many markets they show in their website, which are their odds compared with other bookmakers, so that you can get better yield, which is the or how quick they restrict your new account. But this has also another edge, that is if it is easy to reopen your account or not, because here in Spain we are fighting them on courts, and we have won many times. And there is also another very interesting or very important parameter, that is the bet size you can place on each of them. And what we have to take into account is that the final goal is to obtain the maximum profit from every bookmaker. So there are several parameters, and all of them combined translate into a bigger or smaller profit that I can get from them. Of course, if I am restricted very soon, or if I am restricted after a drawdown, the profit I will obtain will be smaller, but I will try to avoid this variance part of betting. That is something that varies, will change a lot between users, and I will try to focus on the objective parameters of bet size, odds, markets, and also if they restrict very soon or not.
Yeah, I would include like how easy it is to withdraw your money, because some of these sites don't have a problem to restrict and then withhold your funds. So that's really important.
I assume that I can get back almost 90% of the time, or 90% of the users or the bookmakers. I can get my money back, but some of them are very hard, because you have to
like the first one that you have right there.
Yes, you have to give them a lot of documentation, or sometimes they spend a lot of time to answer. So it's something that it varies a lot between them. So I will start with the most common bookmakers, and I will classify them between top, fundamental, useful, meh, that means that, well, it depends, and shit, that is, I regret opening an account on them. Of course, I will start with Bet365 is a top for me. Even if they restrict very soon, they offer a lot of markets. They open the market many times, so they are the first offering odds in tennis and football many times, at least from the bookmakers I use. And their common limits are high enough. You can bet to win 300 euros in tennis easily in every competition, even 1,000 euros in ATP or WTA. So the liquidity is very high. Also, the odds are most of the time the higher odds you can find, unless Pinnacle is already offering odds that many times are higher than Bet365. And also, it's a very serious bookie. It's easy to get your money back. They are not very, very hard, or they don't give you a lot of problems to get your cash back. The second bookmaker I will talk about is William Hill. Some years ago, it would be fundamental, but nowadays I think it's only useful because they restrict very soon. Limits are high, the odds are good enough, markets are also very, very good. They offer a lot of competitions on almost every football match is on William Hill, and also they have also table tennis, but they restrict very, very soon. And I think that, well, you have to open it, but you cannot expect to win a lot of money in William Hill nowadays. At the moment, I sued them, I think 2 years ago. I was unrestricted for a few weeks, and then they closed my account. So I was restricted. Yeah. I could place very small bets. I sued them. They restored my account, and then they closed it, and I'm waiting for my account to get reopened again. When I had my account totally or like a new account, I could earn a lot of money from them because the odds are very good and the liquidity is high. Betfair is also useful, although the limits are smaller and the odds are not so good, but I recommend it to open it as well. I think that in Spain, Betfair exchange is only, well, you can have it or not because the liquidity is very low, but sometimes you can place high bets on very liquid markets like important football matches or important tennis matches, but well, it's not so important, at least from Spain, where the liquidity is restricted only to our country. Well, PAF, I would say, is also useful. I have earned several thousand euros, but they restrict soon. The same for 1xBet. Although if you are unrestricted, you can place it on top because odds are very good and liquidity is very high, especially live. When the match starts, you can bet a lot of money.
I would say that as far as 1xBet goes, I understand that placement if you're in Spain, but if you're anywhere else in the world where the bookmaker is not required by law to pay you out, there are so many.
Yeah. Muted. You're muted. Yeah, I can't hear you, Adrià. I can't hear you now. Microphone.
My bad. Please.
Okay.
Yeah, let me know whenever that happens. I don't know why that happens. What I was saying
in other parts of the world, no?
Okay, let me try to fix that. Last time I fixed it by changing the application settings.
Now we don't hear you. No. No. No, I can't hear you. Nothing. You want to restart or something? Okay, we have some problems with the microphone. Adrià? Okay, can you talk now? No, we don't hear you. This is the typical live problem. Okay, I think I will continue with my tier list while Adrià tries to solve this problem. I think that he was talking about 1xBet, saying that if you are not in Spain, where the law protects the user so that if they don't pay, they will have a very big fine, or you can sue them if they don't pay you and they have to pay also interest. Well, in some parts of the world where the law is not so favorable to the user, they will give a lot of problems to get your money back. At the moment, I place them as a useful bookmaker because, well, I find it that the odds are high, liquidity is high, but they restrict very soon. And I think that is not so.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, we can hear you now.
For some reason, it keeps going to mute when I say a few words. I don't know why that is. But yeah, I was saying that you hear me.
Muted again.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on. Hello?
No? Yeah.
I say
Yeah.
like 2 words and it goes to mute.
Yeah. Again.
Sorry, it's something about Windows.
Now I hear you.
Yeah, if I have to type in the
Okay. Yes, I hear some noise.
Yeah, it's just at the moment that I say something, it just mutes.
Yes, some nice reduction or something. Okay, I think it's working now.
It works for a few seconds, right? Let's see if it goes to mute again. Okay.
Okay.
It seems to be, yeah. Okay, let's hope that fixed it. I just closed Discord. Yeah, I was saying that in the international market, sorry, just try to go on.
Okay, I go on and yeah, but Adrià can type into the chat, but it will be very slow to finish like this. Okay, I go on. The next one, I don't know if it is 888. It's not here. Okay, it's not here, but we have Betway. I think, but Betway is a very good one, fundamental or even top, because you can win, at least in Spain, 2, 3,000, 4,000 euros until you get restricted, and even restricted you can still win enough that it is worth to spend time on placing small bets on them. And also I have shoot them, and I was also unrestricted for a few months, and I earn a lot of money from them. I think that Alphabet, probably some years ago it was fundamental, but now the limits, at least here in Spain, are very, very low. You can only bet 2, 3 euros, 5 euros. It's very, very small. And I think that now it will be not worth to register on them, or probably even shit. I would not spend time registering on Alphabet nowadays from Spain. TonyBet, almost the same. They have reduced the limits, the liquidity a lot. So the bets you can place on them, from my experience, is very low. I don't know if it is conditioned because I bet mostly on table tennis and ITF tournaments, but nowadays I would not spend time on registering on TonyBet.
If I can speak.
Yeah. No, it mutes.
I was going to say that if I can speak that. Okay, sorry, there is nothing I can do about it.
Okay. Well, that song is like, well, not very useful, but well, liquidity is very small, but you can earn 500 euros from them before getting your account closed. The same for PokerStar Sports, but I also shoot them, and when I had my account unrestricted, it was really, really profitable. But for a new account, they restrict very, very soon. They offer a lot of markets. Odds are okay, but I don't know if it would be worth or not between. Well, if you don't mind about spending some time opening the account, it would be useful. But don't expect to win 1,000 euros because they will restrict you sooner. And from here also, Bwin, I think it's, well, fundamental. You can earn 1,000, 2,000 euros from them. They offer not a lot of markets, but when they offer those markets, the odds are very good, and also the betting limits are high until they ban you. And more bookmakers from Spain here. Marathon Bet, yes, I think it's just useful. Several years ago, probably would be a top bookmaker because they offer a lot of markets. Those are many times the higher odds. They also had some promotions like zero margin, and it was a very good bookmaker. But nowadays, I think it's between fundamental and useful. I don't know if they restrict very, very soon, but now the liquidity is lower, and they also restrict in a few weeks. So I don't know if you can win 1,000 euros from them or lower. Well, if I assume that Ladbrokes is the same than Sportube, or it was at least some time ago, I would say that Ladbrokes is useful or even fundamental because the limits or the liquidity is high enough, the odds are good. They don't offer many markets, but well, it is a bookmaker that I encourage people to open account in.
It's another one that highly depends on. Sorry. It's another one that the.
No, it's not working.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll type in the chat.
Okay. And well, Skybet, Megapari, I don't know most of these bookmakers, but Betson, very hard to recover your money, at least here in Spain. I haven't used it most of the time because well, I know that it will be very hard to recover my money. And well, I think that's all. These are the bookmakers from this list I have used, and this would be my tier list. I have to say that, for example, Bet365, Betway, Bwin, Marathon Bet, Sportium or Ladbrokes, William Hill, I have had an unrestricted account for some time, so I have exploited them for a few months, and I have earned a lot of money from them. Also Poker Stars, and even 1xBet. And I also encourage people to do this strategy of erasing your data from them, and some of them allow you to reopen your account. It happens with probably with Betson or with Kambi bookmakers, and also I reopened my Bwin account after 4 years of being closed, so they deleted my data, and I could reopen the account again, but I had to wait 4 years. And also PAF is a good bookmaker to reopen your account after erasing your data. And well, I have other bookmakers here that are not directly available from Spain. I have used them for a short time. They are Pinnacle, that if you are not in Spain is fundamental because you can exploit very big markets if you have a good strategy, if you have a good method or good tipsters to follow. It is not on the top because it is very hard to beat, to win money from them, but if you have a good strategy, a good tipster, then it is fundamental because liquidity is high and the odds are mostly of the time the best odds you can find. And I have also tested for a short period of time Sportsbet. It was a really good bookmaker several years ago. Now I cannot use it from Spain because it is banned. When it was not banned, I can say I have earned perhaps 0.5 Bitcoins from them when the Bitcoin was not so expensive. but I have won them a lot of money. I also have tested stake, not now because I am also banned nowadays, but it is a very good one. Liquidity is high and also the odds are very high. And probably I think that's all. I tried to open account here, but I couldn't start betting. Something happened. I don't remember. During the verification or something, they didn't allow me to bet
something
at all.
related to your EP. They do that really
Yeah.
often. Is my mic okay now?
Yeah.
Okay.
Don't touch it.
Yeah. Dave.com
Okay.
is actually one of my top
Yeah.
crypto sites,
Yeah.
but I was going to get that near the end.
Mhm.
I feel like if there is one that I'm going to recommend, it would be that one for
Okay.
multiple reasons.
And I think that's all. I haven't. Well, I opened an account in Cloudbet, but I haven't tested enough. I don't know where to place it. And I think that's all. I haven't tested the rest of the bookmakers.
Yeah, as far as Cloudbet, I feel like if you're okay with opening your account and being restricted in 24 hours, it's a good choice to spend a day betting because they have really good odds and marketability.
Yeah.
But they will
And what,
restrict you in 24 hours. Their
and what
withdrawal
about getting your money back? Are they allowing
really
your
good
money
actually
back?
because it's one of those betting sites that actually feed on public trustworthiness. So they really care about like Trustpilot reviews. I have never had a problem there, and I don't really know of many people who did. It's one of the very few. Yeah, Cloudbet is not available in Spain or in Germany or in the US. But if you have Cloudbet, you can use it for like 24 hours, and they can afford to display odds at really high stakes.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's just a 24-hour thing.
Is it hard to deposit a lot of money so you can bet a lot in
No,
one day or not? No.
they have almost no rollover policy. Like you must roll over once, which is perfectly reasonable. And withdrawals are either instant or within 24 hours. I have tested it quite extensively, but the problem is that your accounts get restricted almost instantly.
Yeah, and do they verify your identity?
No.
So you can open your account, they restrict
Exactly.
you, and then you have to use another IP or another
Exactly.
email so you can open it again. Okay, good to know.
It's a lot of hassle, but yeah.
And can we access this website from Spain, or is it also banned?
No, you cannot access it from Spain, and they do not allow Spanish users. They actually banned Spanish users a few months ago.
Okay. Okay, I have saved an image from my tier list, and I don't know if you want to start again. We can start with your list, and then we can compare it. Okay.
Okay. Do you want to remove everything?
Yeah.
Just refresh, I guess.
I can refresh. Okay. Here.
Even though maybe it's going to keep everything.
No, it keeps it.
No.
No problem. There are not many of them. Okay. Anyone has a question about my tier list in the chat? Something that was strange for you, or something that do you want to ask about my better and worst bookmakers?
There was one thing that stood out to me, and it was the sportsbet.io placement. Because I've had like a horrible time there. Can you refresh that the order is the original order? I believe it's going to shuffle it.
What?
Can you refresh the page so that the order goes back?
I'll try to do it. No, here. Sorry, here.
Yes, reopening a new Bet365 account is very much a hassle. You need to work around it quite a bit.
This is on the top.
Yeah.
No?
Bet365 is definitely on the top, yeah. Thing is, For me, my tier list changes quite a bit depending on the sport. I imagine we're doing like a general list because I basically play on table tennis nowadays, and some placements change considerably if it's only table tennis.
Yeah.
Like a while ago, Bet365 used to take like many weeks or months to ban users. Nowadays, it's not so much like that. Like if you place an overabundance of table tennis matches or just ITF, you can get your account restricted quite fast. So you need to mug a lot of bets. They're continuously implementing new methods to push people away who make money. There's the entire authentication app that they rolled out in certain countries a few months ago, sorry. And they also removed the 5-day grace period whenever they ban you.
Yeah.
So I feel like they are just applying more and more methods so that you can get a lesser mileage out of Bet365. But even with all of that they're implementing, which is probably going to go towards, if I had to like guess, it's got to be at the top just because of the excellent market availability, the excellent odds. It's all available almost everywhere in the world. So I would recommend.
And I haven't asked you, are you also in the fight on courts
No,
against bookmakers or
I
not?
tried to get into that, but I ran into an issue which made me stop.
Yeah.
So I'll try to go like in order and not spend a lot of time, because the first one on the list is Bet Rebels. Have you tried Bet Rebels?
No, I haven't.
Okay, don't
Is this
try it.
on top also?
Absolutely not.
No.
Bet Rebels is perhaps my least favorite one in here. And when I say Bet Rebels, I mean Bet Rebels and its 60 clones. If you find a site that is structured like Bet Rebels and has the same odds, I recommend that you stay away. A few years ago, it would have been S tier because their odds are super high. Their market availability is almost top tier for every sport. But they nowadays basically throw a coin toss to determine if they pay you out or not. They request a bunch of documents, and if they don't feel like paying you out, they will not do it, even if everything is correct. So that's the main problem, that they don't pay you out a lot of the times. Other than that, it's fantastic because it's international. It has many clones. It has amazing markets. They allow crypto payments, but you are likely not going to get your money.
Yeah. Probably
Betfair,
I have tested some clones of Bet Rebels.
yeah, Cassinia, Cassinoli, like my spins. There are genuinely dozens and dozens. Betfair, I believe you placed in fundamental, or was it in useful?
Betfair, I think it was useful nowadays because they restrict very fast and liquidity is not very high. But
so I think it depends on the domain, because betfair.com has a wider array of markets and more competitions. I believe .com, from what I've heard, is more useful than .es. In .es, I would agree with you. You get restricted really fast.
Yeah. So in .com would be fundamental, or?
I believe so, because I think it's one of those sites where if you mug it properly before value betting, it actually lasts you a long time. And that does not really happen often nowadays anymore. I believe Betfair is one of the examples where if you act like a recreational bettor on top of value betting, it's going to last you a considerably longer time. And their odds are all over the place. Like, it's not rare that Betfair displays odds significantly different to every other site, for better or worse. So you can use it pretty well as long as it lasts.
Their odds are independent from other bookmakers, and you can get. They are very slow also, sometimes also when correcting the odds, so you can find those steamers very well on Betfair.
Betfair Exchange I've never actually used. I imagine this is for WinnerOdds, right? In Spain, like you said, there's not much of a point to it. It's like a marketplace where your bet needs to be placed on the opposite side by a different user, so the market availability is really low, you can probably use it for liquid markets like ATP, but if it's the only option you have, you are not going to get much out of it, as far as I know. path.com. I don't know about path.com. I don't know if it changes from path.es. If it's like .es, my experience is that the market availability is not that great, that their odds are decent, that the default stake is fairly low, and that you get restricted fast. That is my opinion.
Yeah.
But
so it would be between
useful because there is no
regular
reason
useful.
not to use it, is what I would say.
Yeah. Yes, it's very easy to register and very easy to get your money back, I think.
Yeah. It doesn't mean you can make a lot of money, at least from my experience. It's a low bar, but you can definitely get something out of it. EFBet is like a joke. It's a huge betting site in Eastern Europe that has been trying to branch out, and they have extremely good odds. It's the kind of site that if you had forever, it would be a never-ending money-making machine. But if you place 3 bets on low liquidity markets, you get stake restricted right away.
Yeah.
So it's a similar deal to what I said about Cloudbet. You can use it for a day and be banned and withdraw probably without a hassle. Or what I would recommend, and what I did for a while, was using EFBet and only placing ATP and WTA bets or high liquidity bets on football, because that actually makes you last like a week or two. With ITF or table tennis, it's like you get restricted right away. And I imagine this
It
is the
depends on the
international.
sport.
Yes, it depends on the liquidity mainly. I imagine this is talking about the international version of EFBet, which has a bunch of table tennis markets. So for that, it's definitely usable, but it's not going to last a long time. I would say useful.
Okay.
Caliente, this is a Mexico side, and it's a clone of Marca.
A clone of?
It's a Marca.
Marca Apuestas.
Yes. Yeah. If it's anything
I think
like those
Marca
two, I have never been able to use Marca because the moment I place a bet, I get instantly restricted.
Really? Okay. My experience is different in Marca Apuestas because I started losing. Then I could recover my money and that's all. So
yeah, okay.
The account lasted until I was positive. So I don't know anything
What
else.
I think is that if you have an old account, you can still use it. But if you try to create a new one and start value betting now, you get banned almost instantly. It seems pretty common that people who had an account in the past can use it for a few months, which sounds great because their market availability and odds are pretty good.
So between useful
I guess it depends on how old your account is. I would put it in meh if you're a new user, and I've never been able to use it. So betson.com. Betson is another one that really depends on the country because it has many domains and they don't all use the same provider. As far as betson.com, it's decent. Like it has ITF, you can place bets, but it's not going to last very long. And since it's so country dependent, I feel like you have to try it for yourself. In Spain, my experience is that it's like middle of the road. The international is okay. If it's better, that's still not a high bar. I don't have experience with the .com version. I don't hear about it very often, so I don't know if it would be much better. Let's say useful. You can probably get something out of it.
Yeah. Well, my experience is that I got restricted very soon. I couldn't win more than 500 euros or something like that in Betson.
That's with the .es version, right?
They also removed some markets, probably.
They have a different provider. Like the Spanish version is different to
probably
the international version, and I believe different to the Italian version. They're all kind of different to each other. Doesn't bet. I don't really know about it. Like when it launched last year or 2 years ago, it was almost unusable because you got restricted right away. I think that nowadays it takes a bit longer. And something that's good about it is that you get restricted based on the sport and based on the competition. So if you get restricted on tennis, you can use it for football and then you can use it for table tennis. So you can squeeze some more juice out of it than something that gets your entire account restricted. But
would
it's
you
not
recommend to open an account on DAZN or not?
It's not available in many countries. You have it like in the UK, in Spain, in Germany. If it's available to you, I recommend doing it because it's likely you'll make some money. TonyBet. Yeah, TonyBet. I don't really know how TonyBet International works. I think, in my experience, it's one of the best ones for betting on high liquidity markets like ATP or WTA. I used it for those competitions for a very long time, and it lasted a while. For ITF or table tennis, it has a pretty low stake limit, so it's not very useful there. And they do this thing where they place matches in pre-live 5 minutes before they begin, which lets you wager a lot of money, like a lot more than the general stake limit. And that's what makes it useful to me. But I do recommend doing it in moderation because abusing it is going to get your account fully restricted. And if every branch of TonyBet operates like the Spanish one, you will be requested many, many documents, which is a huge hassle. I recommend using it for, like I said, high liquidity competitions.
Only high liquidity.
Yes. And if you find a low liquidity one that is in pre-live 5 minutes before it starts, you can do it as a one-time thing. You can place the bet and you can probably wager a significant amount of money. But if you abuse that, you're going to get restricted quite fast. That's my experience. I would play it in useful. DAFABet. If you disagree with anything, just let me know, by the way. Like my experience could be like completely different from what everyone else experiences. So DAFABet is like an Asian site that has kind of expanded all over the world. And my opinion on it has changed a lot over the years because nowadays, unless it's changed again, their odds are not as competitive as they used to be. And the stake limits are super low. And you hear about many cases where they don't actually pay out users. I would put it in meh or in shit, honestly, because at least from my experience, you cannot really get that much out of it. And there is the possibility of getting restricted as long as your national laws don't force the bookmaker to pay you. Yeah, either there or below it. But it's fine in meh because in certain countries, you can get stuff out of it.
Well, at least now in Spain, you can bet €5 or even less. So it's not worth it.
Exactly. Yeah.
I don't know why they still exist here because they are not.
Yeah. You never hear about it anymore here. But it used to be really good a few years ago.
Yeah.
Betway has the obvious problem that it's quite fast to limit you. A few years ago, it would have been the easiest top tier. Right now, I would say fundamental, but you need to be careful not to place a bunch of low liquidity bets right away, because if you do, you will genuinely get restricted the same day.
Yeah, but at least now, I think that at this moment, even restricted, you can win €20 or €19 in table
they
tennis.
Actually have a few.
€50 in tennis and soccer and football, and I think it's worth to spend a lot of time on Betway until you get totally banned, because even restricted, you can win a lot from them.
If you are limited to those stakes, it's absolutely worth your time. The thing is, some accounts get limited to €1 right away. So they have different levels of limitations. The one that you mentioned is the most common one, which is totally fine. It's still worth it to place bets at those stake limits. But they do have lower levels for sure.
Yeah.
Either way, it's a fundamental one.
I think that is something that I have commented before, that when I open Well, several years ago, I opened an account and started betting without thinking anything. But nowadays, when there is a new bookmaker, or when I open an account in a new bookmaker, I always wait for 1 month probably. I play some MacBets. I play in the casino. I make several deposits before start betting. And when I start betting with intention of winning money, I do it gradually. I don't deposit 1,000 euros. I deposit 200, 300 euros and start betting, placing many bets and never betting more than 10-20% of my el saldo, ¿cómo es
the balance
of the balance of the account? Because if you make very huge bets related with your balance, they also highlight you very very soon.
Yeah, that's definitely something I would recommend doing on pretty much all of the sites, but it's not something that I think works every single time. There are certain sites where you can actually bypass their systems by doing stuff like that. In some others, it's not that easy. They still like detect value betting quite well, but it's absolutely worth doing it because whenever it works super well and you can have an account for months. William Hill, I don't know, like their market availability is great, but their account restricting systems are a bit inconsistent. You can get restricted super fast. I know of cases where users lasted like 2 weeks making money every day. So it really begs the question of how they are like banning users. If it lasts more than 2 weeks, it's basically a miracle. I would say use it for as long as you can. You will probably make money. It's going to be a fleeting experience, but it's a reputable site, so they are going to pay you out most likely, unless you really mess up. Yeah, you rarely hear about people using William for more than a week. Poker Stars. I feel like my opinion on this one is different from most people. I feel like my experience is that it lasts longer than Betway and William Hill, but that their market availability is a bit lower to the point that it evens out. Do you agree with that?
Well, what I have experienced recently, because I was restricted for a few months there, is that they block some of the matches very soon. So
yes,
when they find that a lot of people is betting on the same result, they block that market, that it vanishes from their website, and perhaps 20-30 minutes later they offer it again with lower odds. So well, it is good for table tennis and football, but in tennis, at least ITF tournaments, they disappear very fast. So you go there and the match is not there.
Exactly. They also use their own providers, so some matches you can only find there. They also have that quirk that they ban you based on the competition, so you can get restricted on ITF and still play on ATP and WTA for a while. Yeah, so that's a good thing to keep in mind. The bet is only available in certain countries, and I don't remember, but if you don't have access to it, you are going to have access to its clones, which are BetoBet, betcoin.ag, 21 Lucky Bet, and there is another one, VeerBet, I believe. I think don't bother with this one. Maybe someone here has experience with it and disagrees with me. They allow crypto payments. They have a huge array of markets, but they restrict you really fast. And in my own experience, they spent like over a month to pay me out and had a really aggressive KYC policy. Someone in the Discord said that they didn't get the money from one of their clones. I believe it was 21 Lucky Bet. But the market availability is so high that maybe it's worth giving them a go and burning through them. If you are willing, if you are willing to take the risk of not getting paid out, which could happen, or spending a long time to be paid out, they have a lot of markets, so you can give them a shot. 1xBet. I could talk about these people for hours. Like the summary for me is do not bother with 1xBet unless you are in a country where they are obligated to pay by law, like in Spain. Like 1xBet.com, the international version, has a 10-year long track record of not paying users. And I have personally had over like 2,000 euros confiscated by them. Like they make up lies about detecting fraudulent activities. They have the infamous KYC practice of like making you take a selfie in front of your monitor showing your Gmail account. They also have a bunch of clones that you can find on WinnerOdds by sorting by provider. And I would say the same about all of them. I don't recommend them, but the market availability and the odds are like the best.
Yeah.
The best of the best.
So it would be a shit bookmaker unless you are going to be paid.
That's exactly
it.
Like
useful. Yeah.
Their pre-match stake limits are low, but you can wager a lot in pre-live, and they allow crypto payments. A lot of things make it really appealing, and you will definitely grow your balance at light speed, but the chance of not getting paid out is really high, especially if you amass a lot of money. And I feel like on certain clone sites, like 22bet.com, it's even more likely. You hear about 22bet not paying out all the time.
Okay, here in Spain, 1xBet was Sport & Co. provider several years ago, like Suertia and other bookmakers, Casino Barcelona, Casino Madrid.
Yeah.
And when they changed, I was restricted, and when they changed from their Sport & Co. provider to the international provider, I got unrestricted, and my ID in 1xBet was number 15. So I was the user number 15 in their list.
Really?
And I was unrestricted. I was unrestricted, and I could place even really big bets on pre-match. I got restricted very soon, but I earned several thousand euros. And then in pre-life, I wasn't restricted. So I could place very, very big bets in table tennis. And they even have handicaps also. So I could place the match and the handicap, and I could earn a lot of money from them. I had a very big drawdown because I thought that I was going to be restricted very fast. I was betting very high. I got I don't know, probably 10,000 drawdown. And when I was recovering from that drawdown, they closed my account. And now it's almost 2 months emailing them with many documents. Because I had a problem with my credit card that I deposited, I don't know, probably 3 years ago with a credit card that I don't have anymore, and I have had to go to my bank and ask for a certificate that this credit card doesn't exist anymore.
That's what happened to me with 20bet.
Yeah, I hope I can get my money back soon. It's about 20,000 euros. I'm very, very scared about not getting this money back because I have to pay taxes from it, and I still don't have that money. I have very good experience with them, but with those problems I have mentioned about getting my money back because of this credit card.
If you had played on 1xbet.com, you would not get your money back. I can tell you that.
Yeah, probably.
If you amass a few thousand, you don't see it. And they have a particular way of limiting you, which is by reducing the odds that you are shown.
Yeah.
Which is not done in the Spanish version, I believe.
No, because it's illegal.
Exactly. Next is mystake.com. And I have heard horror stories about it, but if it's only based on my opinion, my experience on mystake was really good. And I don't want to mislead people into thinking that they're going to have a really good experience, but they have recently been making efforts to gather a trustworthy reputation. I think that the odds of not being paid out are lower than they used to be, but they used to be quite high. This is an offshore crypto site that also has like bank payments. The market availability and the odds are extremely good. They allow crypto payments. They're available almost everywhere in the world. They have strong KYC policies. If you make money, they will request video proof saying that you need to say, I have an account on this site, take a selfie and stuff like that. Yeah. I don't hear about users not getting paid out much anymore. They have a bunch of clones like GoldenBet, DawnBet, CosmoBet, FreshBet, Roletto, 31Bet. They're not run all by the same company, at least not all of them. My experience is that they operate all identically, with the only difference that FreshBet took a month to pay out. The others all paid out within a week. So I would recommend trying it if your national laws allow you to play. Like, they're licensed in Curacao, so if they choose to not pay you out, you're not going to be able to do anything about it. So as long as you're willing to take the risk and you make it a point to not amass thousands of dollars, I think you have a good chance to make money, especially if you try all of the clones. For me, it's been fine. I hear that it's been fine recently for a lot of people, but it comes with the obvious risk.
And one question: where did you get your starting amount of Bitcoin to start placing bets on crypto sites?
I bought, yes, at an exchange, and then I swapped it to a private wallet, and well, that was many years ago. Yeah. So I don't really know if the origin can be traced.
I started placing bets on crypto bookies in 2017. And I had to buy my first 0.1 Bitcoin on a German bank. Wow. It wasn't an exchange, it was a German website that belonged to a bank. And it was very strange for me, but after that I placed my money on an exchange and I moved it from there.
Yeah, nowadays it's a lot easier. It just depends if you want to be like tracked or not, because obviously if you don't want the government to know, then you should not do it at a KYC exchange that sends your data. But I don't really care much about it. So yeah, everything related to crypto has that risk involved. I feel that my stake nowadays is one of the safest ones, but anything can happen. Sportsbet, that is the Australian site. It's sportsbet.com.au. If what I've heard about it is accurate, then this should be a really good one. I don't know. Australia doesn't have many sites, and I consistently hear that this one in particular lasts a long time and allows high stakes. So if you're in Australia, it should be an easy pick. I don't know if they have an obvious negative. I would place it in fundamental if you are in Australia. Obviously, if you're not in Australia, you cannot use it. I believe some people complained that they have problems with their bonus offers, but if you use it for value betting and have patience, I hear that it's one of the better ones. 10bet is country specific. I know it's available in the UK and it's available in South Africa. I have firsthand experience with it, but only one time. And I got restricted in 24 hours placing table tennis bets. So that's all I can offer. It seemed like one that would be great if it lasted a long time. My opinion is not very nuanced. I don't know how frequently used it is by WinnerOdds users, but if you have access to it, use it. It had a lot of market availability, and I got paid out. But again, it's just my experience. If someone in the chat has tried it out and can offer something else.
So I think that a lot of users bet on 10bet.
Yeah.
Users not from Spain, but I don't know which are the results. So between useful and more or less.
Putting it useful, like my only worry is that maybe sometimes they don't pay out. If that is not the case, and you don't do what I did, which was like place 20 table tennis bets in a row right away, then you'll probably fare better than I did. That's Karamba, right? I believe. That is a UK only site. Yeah. I believe that this is one where you will lose the account the moment that you make money on low liquidity competitions, unless I'm mixing it up. So I know that it's one that is used very often by UK users, but I don't know if there is something in particular that is like really good or really bad about it. And I believe they have like a lot of clones. I'd put it in useful.
Okay.
Tab is
Tab and Tab Touch.
Yeah, these are Australian. Like we don't have personal experience with them. Tab, I remember hearing that it's not amazing, just a decent one that you can use and get restricted fairly fast. So again, like fill the useful tier even more. Tab Touch. I believe this is the one that
from Australia.
Yes, this is from Australia. Yeah. I've heard pretty bad things about this one. I believe it's a clone of something else. But what I heard about this one is that it's super quick to limit you. And that would lead me towards meh if it's as fast as it sounded. Yeah. But again, Karamba is not too bad. Yeah, what I hear is that if you have Karamba available, you are definitely going to be use it. So that's what I would say useful. Since I don't have personal experience to say that it's fundamental, I'm not confident in saying that it's fundamental, but you hear about it really often. So I'm sure that you have a good reason to use it. PointsBet is Australian as well, and they are decent. I have definitely seen this one being talked about really often. Nothing else to add. Like, it's a decent Australian site, I believe. Unibet. Yeah. I believe Unibet is identical to Tab Touch, but Tab Touch in Australia is different from Tab Touch International, if I am not misremembering. So Unibet is
they pay
Australian
you.
side, exactly. Australian side that I don't have like anything super useful to say about. Unibet in the UK is the same as PAF. Yes, you're right. You're actually right. I don't know how it functions about restrictions and stake limits, but yeah, you're right about that. Nets is the Australian version of Ladbrokes. And then Ladbrokes has an Australian version, which is different from the UK version, I believe. And if that is correct, then Nets is decent and limits you really fast. Someone correct me if I'm wrong. And it would be useful because you can use it, you can make some money, but probably not a lot of money. In all of these Australian sites, I don't know like how useful mugging bets is. Unibet restricts quite fast. Top Sport, I have like no concept of this one. I don't know. Is it another Australia one? Does anyone know what Top Sport is?
We're gonna leave it.
No, not Talk Sport. It's Top Sport. I don't even have an opinion or anything remotely close to reality. So yeah, never heard of it. Yeah. It's monitored. It's a Bet Victor clone. I've heard good things about Bet Victor, but again, I have no confidence in this, so I don't know where to put it. I'll skip it for now. Win is like a Betway situation with the added nuance that you are likely to get requested a bunch of documents when they limit you. It's like a money-making machine for as long as it lasts, so there is no reason not to use it, especially if you are protected by your national laws. I don't think that Boin is one where you can do much to extend the life of the account. At least that has never worked for me. And they have a few country-specific clones like BetMGM or Sporting Bet in South Africa. And I believe they all operate the same, so it should apply. Should be useful. If you can get an extended life out of it, like if you can get it to last like 3 weeks or something, it would definitely be fundamental. But I don't believe that's something you can do. Pinnacle, I have no experience with Pinnacle. It's a sharp bookmaker. They display tightly adjusted odds. Yeah, exactly. You can mug all you want on Buin. You value bet and you're done. Especially nowadays. I don't know if this is a WinnerOdds only tier list, in which case I would not put a lot of stock on Pinnacle. But if you're willing to entertain the thought of using your own method, then Pinnacle would be really good. So do you have an opinion on Pinnacle for WinnerOdds? Only WinnerOdds?
Yeah, I think that for football it works very well because they offer a lot of markets where liquidity is low, but you can find a value. And for tennis, most of the cases, most of the users lose money on Pinnacle because they are not getting the best odds, because when they, at least nowadays, Pinnacle is not so fast to offer those markets. They offer ITF and they have increased the tennis offer, but they wait for other bookmakers to start offering their odds. So when they start offering their odds, probably they have very low value. When they offer the odds soon in big markets like ATP, WTA, or in football, when they are one of the first bookmakers to offer odds, they are quite beatable and you can get profit from them. But that doesn't happen very often.
Yeah.
But if you are placing a bet in a match and Pinnacle odds are higher than other bookmakers, you have to place the bet on Pinnacle and not in other bookmakers. So it's something that you need if you can bet in Pinnacle. That is not.
Yeah,
that doesn't happen.
I've never
from
been
Spain,
able to try it.
Yeah.
Okay, so next would be Bet Online. And you're all going to allow me to say that I think it's a good one. I don't know if anyone here has had a remarkably bad experience with Bet Online, but after many years, like I have only good things to say about it. People often say that it's a sharp bookmaker. I don't know how true that is, because from my own experience, many of their selections are not actually that sharp, especially on like table tennis. I have made a lot of money on Bet Online, and yeah, semi-sharp. That's basically what I've gathered, and it's very competition dependent. However, since they kind of regard themselves as a sharp bookmaker, the accounts tend to last a long time. They don't last forever. I've absolutely gotten limited, but that was after many months of making consistent money. So if everyone has the same experience I had, I would highly recommend it.
Yeah, there is something very strange in Bet Online, is that many times the match is
it's flipped.
Is flipped. So the player number 1 is on position 2, and I don't know why. And the other thing is that
careful.
They have 2 versions of the website, and the old one is like I don't know, very, very old one. So
I see.
I use the new one and it's okay. It's not so easy to. It's not the best interface, but it's
Yeah,
good.
they recently changed the domain. Like it's an international site that, other than in the US, like most people will be able to use it and they allow crypto payments. They also have two clones, which are sportsbetting.ag and tigergaming.com, which function almost identically. I do recommend only using them for sports betting, no casino or poker, because if you delve into the poker side, you start hearing really bad stories of people not getting paid out. But for sports betting, they have been really good to me. If this was a table tennis only tier list, I would put it in top. For tennis and football, I think it's good there. Bet
So
Victor,
fundamental or useful? Bet online.
put in fundamental because for me it's been really good, and I have not had like any bad experience in it. I also didn't have to get my account verified or anything. I don't know if that's consistent or not. Bet Victor, I don't really know much about it. I've never attempted to try it. I think this is like an offshore site targeted to US customers, unless I'm getting it mixed up. The bet online, it's sportsbetting.ag and tigergaming.com. They are basically identical. Tigergaming.com used to be a really big poker site years in the past that kind of fell out, but they still function. You just never hear about them, but they have been really good for me. High Street UK.
Yeah, I think Bet Victor is UK bet site.
Oh,
betting site.
okay. I don't know anything about it. I'm pretty sure that it's an offshore site, so you would play with some risk, but I don't know how good they are. Physical shops in the UK. Okay. I know that they do have a site because I remember the screen, like that you're not allowed to play screen. Very safe. They just restrict fast. Yeah. Okay.
Maybe
More
it
of
would
the
be
same.
useful.
Yeah. If you are willing to like play at those kind of sites that are going to restrict really fast, but you can make some money, then yeah, absolutely. Bowdog. Okay, this is definitely an offshore site that is not available in many places. And I don't know much about it. I seem to recall people complaining about it, like not getting paid out.
Yeah,
but
I
maybe
think
that's
so.
Yeah, okay. So let's say shit without a super informed opinion.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe someone has
Snai
had an amazing.
Italian?
Yeah, that's Italy. Again, zero experience with this one. I
Yeah,
imagine that this is the one that Italian users use the most if it was picked. My experience with Bet Online, thing is, they again, it's like they regard themselves as a sharp bookmaker, so they operate like one, as in they take very long to restrict you and allow pretty high stakes. But in certain competitions, not all of them, their odds are pretty misestimated from my experience. Like I have made a lot of money with table tennis there, a lot less with tennis. So for me, it's been amazing for table tennis. For tennis, I had it for years, and I'm sure that I made a profit. I don't know exactly how much. I eventually got restricted to 25 euros of profit per bet after many months of making a lot of money. Also, I believe that this thing is running out of battery. If it runs out of battery, I'll go check. No. I said that my earbud is running out of battery, and I'll go swap it.
Which bookmaker were you talking about?
Lovi. I was talking about Bet Online because someone in the chat asked about it again.
Bet Online. Okay.
FafaBet is mostly used in the UK, right? And it's like available somewhere else, but perhaps with a different provider. Because I remember trying to see if I could sign up at FafaBet from like any place in the world other than the UK. And I believe not with the same provider. Again, it's one that everyone in the UK uses, and it has many clones. and my knowledge is not super up to date. But back in the day, this was very used. Maybe someone in the chat with recent experience can say how they operate now. If you're in the UK, it's probably like you're guaranteed to try this one out eventually, as well as their clones. I believe like Fleet's Dares was one of their clones. So you can burn through them until you exhaust all of them. It was great in the UK, half a dozen clones, not similar to Bet365. That's what I remember hearing, yeah. It's still decent, but low limits now. I feel like that's like a common tendency that the limits have lowered. Yeah, in South Africa, exactly. Yes, the .co.nz or ZA. I don't know if it's exactly the same provider, but yeah, I do remember that it was in South Africa as well. FanDuel is, this one is the US. And I feel like I've heard more good things than bad. And it's used by US customers. I feel like in the US, you hear about stories where people get their withdrawals denied, but I feel like that's more of a general thing. Yeah. I don't know if it's like specific to certain bookies or if it's more of a general thing that in the US, you have the risk of not getting paid out. I feel like FanDuel, I've heard good things about. And same for DraftKings. I don't have like a very defined concept of how they operate. I have tried betus.com.pa, which allows international users despite focusing on North America. And that went very smooth for table tennis, but it's not here. For these specific US sites, I don't really have much to say.
Yeah, me neither. So we can say that they are useful.
They're definitely used. People use them, and you don't hear about them getting like withdrawals restricted super often. So the best bet is that it's worth your time. But again, nothing super elaborate. Ladbrokes.com, I imagine, is the UK version because there's the Australia version. And all I have to say is that I believe they restrict users right away. And like you said, it's like a clone of Sportium, I believe, meaning that they have a pretty decent market availability. And for as long as you can use it, it's going to be a good time. I don't have like a defined version of how long that's going to be. That's Bobata, I believe.
I don't know.
If it is, it's another North American one. Yes, okay. So this is a North America site that allows crypto payments, and I believe it's a clone of Bodog. And if it's a clone of Bodog, I imagine it's going to have the same thing where some people never receive their money, which again seems to be a bit of a common thing in the US that it can just happen. It's an offshore site, so it has all the risks associated with that. If you're careful not to grow your balance too much, maybe you'll be fine because this is a pretty well-known site. So I imagine if you don't grow it to thousands, you are going to be fine withdrawing because otherwise it wouldn't have the reputation that it has, but don't take my word. And yeah, Ladbrokes in the UK is very quick to restrict. I hear that all the time.
And
okay,
also,
Megapart.
Placing multiples, I think it's a very good idea because they can make you go under the radar for a longer time. But from the point of view of the betting strategy, it's very hard to control as the odds increase very high. I don't know which would be the better stake strategy for placing multiples. But I think that is something we can explore because most of the bookmakers are enforcing us to place multiples if you want your account to last more than one day. I don't know. It's something that I will never know, but perhaps with the new users, we can explore it. The problem is also that, well, you will not find the best odds at the same time in the bookmaker, so it's harder to get better odds in several matches at the same time. But if you find them, I think it could be a good strategy to place multiples because they are more like casual betting than professional betting or than value betting.
Yeah, I don't have a lot of experience with that, but I can definitely say that it works. I like to just burn through my accounts because I don't have that much time to bet anymore. But I'm really interested to see in which of these sites that would be a very good strategy. And Mega Party is a 1xbet.com clone. So I would put it at the bottom tier right away for the same reasons.
Useful or?
No, shit. Again,
Shit.
Mega
Okay.
Party has confiscated like €1,000 for no reason.
Yeah.
So, and you hear about that story pretty often. In some of these offshore sites, you take the risk of not getting paid out. But I feel like in Mega Party and the 1xBet clones, it is a much higher risk than what you should be taking.
Yeah.
If you want to take the risk, go for it because the market is amazing, but it's definitely there. Skybet is another UK site.
Yeah.
Correct me if I'm wrong. I don't think I know anything about it. I never hear about it, but it's been like around forever. I believe it's one that
I have seen an interview to one of their CEOs, or I don't know, and they said that they restrict people, but they allow them to bet because they get info from them. So I think, or at least that was several years ago, but I think that they can be trusted, but they restrict.
So do you see WinnerOdds users using it?
I haven't seen many of them because probably they will restrict very soon, but I think it could be useful.
Okay, Marathon Bet. Skybet, I have no idea where to put it.
Yeah, I think they pay, but
Okay.
they restrict.
Marathon Bet. Like the Spanish version of Marathon Bet used to be like my favorite bookmaker of all time. They had every competition, allowed high stakes, and took months to restrict you. But at some point, they decided that they were kind of tired of losing as much money and became less good. I don't really know if it's still like fundamental in Spain. What I do know is that the international version, the .com version, is not good. I don't think it's good. If you play at .com, I don't recommend it. If you play at .es or in a country where you are protected by law, it's basically fundamental. They pulled out of the UK probably because of that, because they were protected by law. The international version like allows crypto payments. They operate independently, but there are so many cases of them refusing to pay users, including me.
It would be between fundamental and me, no?
And shit, because there are so many stories of .com not paying.
Yeah.
If you're in Spain, it's absolutely fundamental.
Okay.
It just depends on that. And Rollbit is the first crypto-only site. I guess we're going to be wrapping up by delving into the crypto rabbit hole. So in Rollbit, you can only deposit with crypto and withdraw with crypto. And the bottom line at all of these sites that remain is that their regulation is almost non-existent. They're basically based on trust, which is both a good and a bad thing. It's obviously a bad thing because if any of these sites, the sites that they're not paying you out, they're just not going to pay you out. And the most you can do is leave a review on Trustpilot. On the other hand, you can use the low regulation to your advantage because they usually offer really high odds. They try to lure people in with welcome bonuses and all of those traps that you should always avoid. So making money at many of these sites that remain is almost trivial, especially if you work with something like table tennis. It's just so inconsistent though, because you need to be very aware of the risk you're taking. They can not pay out at random, but they can sometimes withdraw instantly. You just have to work around not triggering their flags.
If So don't leave your balance to increase very high.
It's the most common thing that I'm repeating because it's the most useful thing. Like there is the entire privacy aspect of it being crypto based. Like they are VPN friendly. You can often create a second account without filling in registration details. You can then deposit with Bitcoin. There is no verifying that the deposit method isn't the same name as the account owner. And some don't even ask you to verify your account or deposit or withdraw, which leads anyone to think that you can create infinite accounts. But that's not quite correct. Like there are all of these aspects that are very appealing, but you're always dealing with the important fact that you can be denied withdrawal at random. So again, rule number 1, never amass more than a few hundred. If you try to withdraw like 1,000 at once, you will be in trouble almost definitely. In trouble meaning they will either require a bunch of documents that are very unrealistic, or they will ban you, saying that they flagged your IP for fraudulent use or something like that. You should always assume that a crypto site is a scam, but that doesn't mean that you cannot make money there. Like, I believe that WinnerOdds has been a bit hesitant to touch on this topic, but I believe that if you assume the risk and you know what you're doing, you can make money on many of these remaining sites. And what I said about this scam, it's actually, there are exceptions like on-chain crypto sites, but the market availability is so low there that none of these are even on-chain. So all of these sites, if you play there, it's only going to be crypto. You can get your withdrawal denied. And like, there is this common belief that these crypto sites are no KYC, meaning that they don't employ know your customer practices. And there are many articles that say that there are all of these crypto sites that are no KYC, but that's absolutely false. Those are absolutely paid articles. And if you want to venture into the crypto world, you should be very attentive. You need to have some basic knowledge of crypto, and you need to afford losing the money that you deposit and to learn from your mistakes, because you will probably lose money at first before you start to make money here. That is my experience. I don't know if you want to add anything before mentioning them.
Yeah, between them, I haven't talked before about 1xBit. I have earned some good Bitcoins from them and their clones. They usually apply lower odds to my accounts, so they didn't restrict me directly. They reduced the odds, and even then, if the odds are above minimum profitable odds, they are still profitable.
Yeah,
but it's harder, and I finally abandoned, but I achieved to win some money from them. And I think that they are easy to register. You can withdraw relatively fast. So if you don't let your balance to increase very high, is a good way to win some money. And there are many clones where you can also, but some clones pay, some that don't pay. So it depends.
That's why I said that you need to learn from your mistakes and be willing to lose some before you actually make money. That is my experience. And it's probably an important topic to talk about, because most people's last resort is to try these crypto sites. Like, they have been banned from every site available in their country. They wonder if they can continue using WinnerOdds with crypto sites. And I guess I should mention that whether you can play on them depends on your national laws, so check that first. Like Rollbit, for example, I wouldn't say is a good site. They have dozens of clones. They have BC.game is very popular, BetFury. You hear horrible stories about every single one of them. That doesn't change the fact that I have made a lot of money on them by just playing it safe and being careful and learning from what didn't work. So that's what I would suggest if you want to venture into them. They have quite a bit of market availability with good odds. I would absolutely recommend withdrawing any money that you make progressively. And I feel like this is the one that you can use from the 3 WinnerOdds algorithms. I believe they have like really good market for football and tennis as well, even though I mainly tried it for table tennis.
Are you using other strategies apart from WinnerOdds on them or not?
No, because table tennis works so well on these crypto sites that I have not really bothered. So most of my experience comes from table tennis, but I did try it for tennis and football a couple of times. And the thing is, a very common quirk of these sites is that you get limited so fast no matter what, which makes the time that you spend creating accounts not as worth your time by using only tennis and football. So I would recommend looking at them if you are playing on table tennis. I would put Rollbit and clones at usable, although it's worth noting that not all the clones are operated by the same people. They just have the same provider. The way that they handle your account and withdrawals differs a bit, but it is quite easy to make money. Just withdraw it the moment that you make it and then keep going, so that if they hold your funds, it's not going to be much. 1xBit, like you said, is the crypto version of 1xBet. And I can pretty confidently say that out of the hundreds of sites that claim to be no KYC sites, meaning that they don't verify your identity, this one is the only one that actually never asks you to pass KYC. I don't know if they ask you. I imagine not.
No.
And it sounds amazing.
I think it's useful because sometimes they pay.
Here's the thing. What that means is that instead of asking you to verify your account, they will sometimes shut it down without saying anything or even sending an email. However, Ethereum withdrawals are instant. So before that happens, you can withdraw safely. It's the thin line that you often play in at these sites. If you want to take the risk of playing under those conditions, then great, because it functions exactly like 1xBet. It's a 1xBet with crypto only. I would put it above 1xBet because if you withdraw before your account is blocked, the withdrawal is very reliable. Yeah, basically. Okay, Dave.com is a crypto version of TonyBet. Not quite, because their odds differ a bit, but the market is almost the same. There are some crypto alternatives as well, like 20bet and IVBet, but Dave.com is by far the one that you should be looking at. It's like an enhanced version of 20bet with often better odds and stake limits. It's available internationally, has very low KYC policies. I've only been requested to verify my identity once, and the withdrawals have worked every time. That is my experience, but you will be limited fast. If there is one crypto site that I could recommend feeling sort of good about, it would be this one. Definitely don't play at 20bet and IVBet despite being clones. There are stories of
fundamental or useful.
If you want to play with crypto sites, this is fundamental. If you are hesitant to delve into the crypto world, then not. Like I was going to say, there are stories of 20bet live agents threatening to dox customers who are requesting a withdrawal. So those two are extremely sketchy, but from what I've gathered, Dave.com works independently and works really well with the 3 WinnerOdds algorithms. Again, take it with a grain of salt, but for me, it's worked really well. You said that you tried to use it and were not able to place a bet, right?
Yeah.
That is definitely their IP filtering systems that they have.
Something.
Yeah. That is Metaspins. Metaspins is like a similar case to Rollbit. It's just one example out of dozens of identical sites. If you don't accept any bonus and just stick to placing bets, this is one where the risk level is fairly low. Just make sure that you play from a country that they allow, because they're definitely going to request KYC when you try to withdraw. And you should be good. Like, this one has treated me well, but this is one that I'm mentioning after trying many others that did not treat me well And this is one that I'm cherry picking to mention one that went well. They have many clones. Like bets.io is a clone of theirs with a different provider. So it's basically a clone in layout and not in provider. If you're experienced with Metaspins, if you actually try it out and you want to use it again, just go to a clone that you can find quite easily, and you should have the same experience. But like I said, you will be restricted fast. That is a very common thing with all of these. Cloudbet, like I mentioned earlier, it's probably like the strongest money-making machine in this list. In certain competitions, they have consistently the highest odds. They will definitely restrict you within 24 hours. But if you just take it as, I create an account, I use it for 24 hours, I get restricted, I withdraw and I move on, then I think it's fantastic. But you need to want to put up with that. And they are starting to ban more countries. It's one that definitely cares a lot about their online reputation. So withdrawals, from my experience, work really well. Did you ever try Cloudbet?
Yes, but not for a long time. I remember they only had ATP and WTA. They didn't.
Yes, again, my experience is kind of.
I don't remember well, but I think that you could see ITF, but when logging, you couldn't place bets on ITF. And at that moment, I didn't have football yet, so I think my only experience is in tennis.
I have tried it with table tennis and football. I haven't tried it with tennis. With table tennis, it's like I said, it's a money-making machine. With football, not as much, but it definitely lasted like 2 or 3 days. It is, if it's your last resort and you don't have like national bookmakers anymore, it is worth your time because they are very, very rare to actually confiscate your money. Jet Casino is the opposite. Stay away from it. Stay away from it from many of their clones, like Fresh Casino, Monroe Casino. You will be restricted almost immediately, and if they pay out, it's going to be a month later. So that is an example.
I remember
of,
from
like,
them is they rejected directly all my bets.
No,
I was clicking accept, and they didn't accept any bet from my.
So they have a few clone sites like WinSpirit, which have better reputation. Like WinSpirit has treated me better, but I'm hesitant to vouch for it just because of how bad my experience was on their other clone sites. And these come out actually pretty frequently when you search crypto casino, so that's why I asked to be included here. I would be very aware of it. TrustDice.win. Okay. Have you tried this one?
No, I haven't.
So this is pretty well known in the crypto world, but I'll absolutely not recommend it for value betting. The main reason being that they require a ×5 rollover of your deposit, and they restrict you before you can reach that. So you're going to have to wager the rest of the casino. It's really bad for value betting, but for recreational bettors, it seems to have a really good reputation. So yeah, I would definitely not use it. Okay, Gamdom. This one is another one with a good reputation, like good online reputation, as whatever that matters to you. And it recently got hacked. Well, their email got hacked. The reason I asked to include it here is that if someone comes across like Gamdom or Owl.games or Win.city, they are probably going to have an okay time at them because these sites that I mentioned are legitimate. I have not been banned for them. I used them for months and they did not restrict me. However, another risk that you need to play around in the crypto world are the fraudulent clone sites, because it's very easy to clone your own crypto site and run it with the same provider. And some scammers actually replicate trustworthy casinos and lure users who had a good experience with them. So I have here 4 examples of these: 7bets.io, duobets.com, docsfortune.com, and ninbet.com. These are clone sites of Gamdom, which is a genuine site, but these are like a complete scam. They will never pay you, and they pay reviews and have a bunch of positive reviews on Trustpilot. So you need to be really careful about these. As far as Gambling goes, I would recommend it. Like their default stake size is pretty low, but it's been totally fine for me. It's again whether you want to venture into crypto. Okay,
So would you move it from useful to fundamental, or I leave it here?
No, because they have pretty low market availability. No. I think that this is one where it's actually better for football and tennis than table tennis, because for table tennis, they don't have much. They have Setka and a bit of the Czech league. But for football and tennis, they seem to have a lot of availability. Stake.com is like the biggest crypto casino in the world, very prominent in the US. They don't really allow many other countries to play, like some in Europe here and there, but not so many. If you can play at stake.com and you want to play at stake.com, it is probably worth your time because the default stake limits are fine. I haven't tested it with tennis or football, but from my experience, table tennis accounts last about a week and KYC is not super aggressive. It's also the only site, the only crypto site where I can say that the withdrawals are genuinely instant. So if it sounds good, then it's worth your time. And the last one is sportsbet.io, which you said that it worked well for you. For me, it didn't. So
for me, because they changed several years ago. They changed the website also, and I couldn't even bet anything. So I only tried for a second account, and the second account was not worth. But the first one, 4 or 5 years ago, it was a very good one.
Yeah, I feel like right now this one is a bit of a trap because they pay like football clubs to sponsor them and they show up very frequently. But if you try to make money, you're not going to have a good time. They have like all of these bonus offers that are like ridiculous. For value betting, you get restricted in 2 bets, and their Trustpilot page is like a war zone. So yeah, F tier for me. And that's about it. There are obviously many more crypto sites, but these are the ones that I thought were worth talking about. And if you try these and are brave enough to go for more, you'll find them. But you'll have to experiment a lot to find what works. This is just a sample.
Okay, and now I find that Winamax is missing here.
You're right.
That would be one of the top bookmakers for me, because
you're right.
They haven't restricted me. Well, I was restricted, but not for long. I removed the restriction. I have had a very huge drawdown on tennis on Winamax because I have placed very big bets. And for example, I lost a 5,000 bet on Winamax. But I have already recovered from that, and they have not restricted me yet. I'm probably about 15,000, and they are still letting me bet very big, even bigger than other users from WinnerOdds. I don't know why. Probably because of that drawdown, or I don't know. Perhaps they hope I lose again. And also the odds are good enough, but the problem is that I lose a lot of time because I go to Winamax, try to place the bet, and they reject it. It happens sometimes, but well, it is worth anyway, because when you can place the bet, is worth enough. And that is
someone in
the
the
only one that I feel is missing here. And
Winamax would definitely be top for me. You're right.
Yeah.
Especially if all the branches work like the Spanish one. I'm also not restricted on Winamax. And someone in the chat asking for bookmaker.xyz. It is a genuine site if you're okay with working with the markets that they offer, which are not much as far as I remember. It is not one that's useful for table tennis, but I believe it has a pretty good reputation. So if you think you can get something out of it with tennis or football, it is probably worth trying out, because you have to try a lot of things before sticking to what works. Dex Sports for crypto, I actually have no experience there. For bookmaker.xyz, I know that it's genuine. So that's it.
Okay, so I will also take a picture from this, and then we can share it later. And well, I think it has been very interesting to have your experience. I didn't know you had such a big experience with so many bookmakers.
No.
But
Again, it's only my experience. Like,
yeah,
I
yeah.
totally
But
understand that someone could flip the table upside down.
would you move any bookmaker from this tier list now? Do you think it's okay, or would you move anything?
I'm okay leaving it like this. Again, this is a general site. If it was like dependent on the algorithms, it would change. But as a general rule of thumb, it looks pretty good to me.
Okay. So I hope perhaps we can share also this tool with our clients, with WinnerOdds users,
Yeah,
and they can also prepare their tier list and compare it
definitely.
in our Discord community. I think it's a very good exercise because you can remember how they work with you, and perhaps we can learn something or some tricks to make your accounts to last more. For example, Bwin is a bookmaker that changes a lot between users. Some of them get a lot of money, some of them are restricted very fast. And also probably Betway is also very variable, and perhaps there is some way to make your account to last more. I don't know. And well,
I'd
I
love to
think it's
know.
a very good exercise to do this. And also, I would like to thank you, Adrià, for sharing all this experience.
It's been
I
a
think
pleasure.
you
It was
have
definitely
tested
much
a lot
longer than
of
I expected, but
yeah. And well, I think that I will take a look on the Spanish streaming that I was
oh
not
yeah,
able to participate, and probably I will learn a lot of from Manu also.
yeah,
And thank you very much for the people in the chat. Sorry if we haven't answered all your questions, but I think we can do it later on the Discord. And for all the people that watches this later, they can also share their experience with us. And well, I hope we can take profit from them for a long time.
yeah. Sounds amazing.
Okay,
Well, thanks for
so
watching.
thank you. See you later.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Okay, I switch it off. Goodbye, Adrià.
Bye-bye.